Hey, what's up everybody? Prospector here with Watcher of Realms. Today I'm going to be going through every single epic in the game and giving them a 0 to 5 rating based against each other. But anyways, without further ado, let's dig in. Alrighty, so I'm basically going to be just going through and kind of talking a little bit about every single epic in the game and their usefulness, how long we use them, if they're even worth leveling and using at any point in time, and that includes from early to end games. So a lot of the heroes are going to be typically used at some point, but I'm definitely going to be rating them against each other. Now on prospector.gg, so if I bring that up over here, right here, you're going to notice that there is going to be a rating system on all of these heroes here. So if I just take this off, the epics, a lot of them are not completed yet, so you can see a difference. But so you can see some of them have like a 3.5, some of them have a 3. This is against every single unit in the game. So they're being compared to legendaries when I give them this rating. And a lot of them are not going to pass that 4.5 star rating. And this is also my actual rating versus going in there and actually seeing the stage ratings. There is an average. If you come right over here, there's a stage average. So you can see they get a 2-star for stage averages. And that's because for like Saurian Grim Scale is going to get a 0. Hellfire Emperor, Ein is useless. He's going to get a 0. Arbiter of Frost, he's just no good. He's going to get a 0. Wasteland Titan, he's no good. He's going to get a 0. So all of these zeros kind of bring this down. For a stage average, it's really hard to get above that 3-star average. So just keep that in mind if you go to prospector.gg and you want to be checking out these heroes, which is fine. Just keep that in mind for the stage average, that it's going to be a little lower than normal because of a lot of these stages they're just not useful in. And scoring 3 or higher is really good. Now, up here I have them rated as a 3. This is my dig score is what I call it. And this is the rating that I personally think the hero deserves. And this is against all legendaries. So when you view this is against all heroes in the game, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to get this off the screen here, and hopefully the music isn't too loud for you. I can turn it down a little bit quickly. Alright, so anyways, let's get right into it. I know this is going to take a long time, so just be patient with me here. We're going to go all the way over to all, and just display them and just go over them quickly one by one. Wrath. Wrath is going to be a lord for the Nightmare faction. You're going to get him for free. Wrath himself as a unit is going to be very good as an epic fighter, okay? His damage is really useful. He has the ability to keep himself alive as well. So that's something to keep in mind, that when his ultimate is active, he's restoring health to himself. He has like a life steal. This hero, as far as an epic go, I'm going to give him a 4.5 out of 5 stars. He's just that good. Now on to Komodo. Yeah, so he's going to be a little bit of a weird one. So he does have the ability to inflict bleed, so he can unlock using a Scarlet Hunt. So in the early game, you could use him to get that bleed off. And that also increases the damage that the boss or whatever unit is taking from physical DPS units, which can be useful. I'm going to give him a 3 for this. Alright, so I'm moving on to Gluttony. Gluttony, I'm also going to give him a 3, and it's because he's a bit weird. He's actually very useful for certain things, so in faction trials early on you can use him. In the end game you're not going to really use Gluttony too often, but he has the ability just to eat units. So, and it doesn't really matter what it is. I think elites and bosses he'll just do damage to. So if it's not an elite, he can just eat them. So it's going to be really good for the Nightmare faction trials for sure. Alright, on to Cyrene. Cyrene is a cost regenerating hero. On her ultimate, she's going to restore 12 cost immediately. So you can place her down, and as soon as her ultimate is ready, which is pretty cheap actually, she's going to restore 12 cost to you. So if you're having a hard time getting ahead in cost, or you have really expensive units that you want to use, she's very, very useful. But this kind of falls off later on in the end game. So I'm going to give her a 3.5. On to Ein. Ein is a Watcher epic lord. Now his lord skill just isn't really that good. He's going to periodically increase the damage of his faction team allies. And as far as his damage goes, it's not too fancy. So for a Lord, he's kind of disappointing. I also think you get him for free if I remember correctly. But yeah, so I'm going to give him a 2.8. That's kind of a weird number. He's not quite a 3. He's not, you know, this is compared to other epics in the fighter category. He's just not really there. On to Scorch. This is going to probably be my first big bash here. So the unit has burning, I believe. No, he doesn't even have burning. So what he's going to be doing, though, is going to be doing overheating on his ultimate. Now, this seems underwhelming. And really early on, like to level 50, he could be worth investing in, because the way damage multiplier works is, the formula works is attack minus defense. And the fact that he increases his attack by so much, is 50%, it can help you get past defenses when you're not really ready for it gear-wise. But he falls off super, super fast and becomes very disappointing. I'm going to give him a 2. All right, on to Damon. Oh, another one. Here we go. Damon. He, when deployed, increases attack by 40%. For every 3 attack landed, the next one will inflict stun. This effect lasts for 10 seconds. So it's kind of like when he is deployed, he does a ton of damage. I shouldn't say a ton of damage, but it's a significant amount of damage. But after that, being on the ground, he's just absolutely useless. And unless you're cycling him out a ton, he does have a cheap cost. I guess he could be useful for certain things in like Void Rift, but there's better options for that in the future. I'm going to give him a 1.5. Just don't bother. All right, on to Dalen. Dalen, I think it's Dalen. Anyways, this is another, I believe, yeah, another cost regenerating hero, Rebel, on her passive, which is an automatic. Restores 13 cost for allies every 30 seconds. She's just as good as Cyrene in a way where she's not really offering anything else to the team, but she is giving you good cost regeneration. So I'm going to give her a 3. All right, on to Cyclone. The unit that came out was actually kind of exciting. We were excited to see the way he looked. And he also has a pushback, I believe. Yes, a knockback, and he has a little bit of stuns going on, but it just doesn't work really well. His talent is gains a 20% chance to dodge, which is kind of, you know, kind of who cares. 2 out of 10 hits on him are going to be dodged. But he is a fighter, he's relatively low HP, and it's just not really going to be worth your time. Just don't invest. I'm going to give him a 1. He's even worse than Damon. Voroth. Voroth kind of came, I think he came around out at the same time Falcia did, and he has this specialized attack speed. But don't be fooled. This unit does not do a ton of damage. He is okay, but it's just not going to be that fancy or be doing anything massive for you. Let's just put it that way. Before that reason, he is okay. I think his stats are relatively okay. His HP is at 20k, his attack is at 5.1. His damage just isn't going to be there. He has a 1 tile range. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give him a 2. So you could use him for a while, but it's going to fall off really, really quickly, especially if you pull something like a Deimos or something like that. Speaking of the devil, one of the best fighter epic units in the game. He at Awaken level 5, of course, is going to start pumping out a ton of damage. He's also really good at surviving. On his ultimate, he increases his max HP by 100% and attack and defense by 20%, and each basic attack lands 4 consecutive strikes. This lasts for 20 seconds. Now you pair that with a Wrath, and you pair that with Komodo, you get the bleed going, you use Scarlet Hunt on him. You can use Wailing Skull on him. His stats are actually pretty good. He has 15.485k HP, and he has 3,300 attack, and he is really fast at hitting, so he does a lot of damage. I think the damage number is right around the 120 to 140. He probably is even popping higher than that now with some of the new gear since I've last tested him. I am going to go ahead and give him a 4.5, right up there with Wrath. He could probably be considered a 5. Estrid. This might be our first 5. Kind of a sorry for the spoiler. So she has a talent. A basic attack launched has a 25% chance of triggering 2 strikes in a row. This is going to be hitting twice sometimes. And she also has AoE on her ultimate. Increases attack speed by 70. Each attack deals 240% AoE damage to enemies in range, and this effect lasts for 15 seconds. And she also, at the same time, she has the passive crack. Each attack launched has a 20% chance of inflicting defense reduction early on to almost into the end game. Not quite into the end game. There's better heroes for defense reduction, but she does an amazing job. Okay, she's gonna decrease the defense, allow you to get past those defense. If you're trying to push higher numbers, that's gonna make it so you can do that. More of your attack is gonna count. I'm gonna go ahead and give her a 5. Estrid is top tier. All right, Aatrox. Weird unit, right? So this unit, well, he can't be healed. He's kind of like Cerberus, but like a mini version of it. I think he has, when he dies, after death generates a ground effect area, just like Cerberus does. He's cheaper, I should say, in the arena. His cost is already extremely low, and his redeployment time is already extremely low. So I will use him sometimes in Void Rift, or some of those stages where you have to pop him down and he dies, or he stops something temporarily and you place him somewhere else. He has some significant uses as you're progressing throughout the game, and for that reason I'm going to go ahead and give him a 3. All right, Yangvar. This one's a bit of a weird one for me. So he has promising abilities. So he has the ability to apply Curse, which makes it so that the units that are attacking him, or when he's blocking them, he applies Curse and then they cannot perform a basic attack. So they kind of just get stuck there doing nothing. Yeah, after that, I don't know. I'm not really big on him. It's all about applying Curse, basically. So for that reason, I think that I want to give him a 2.8, 2.6, somewhere in that range. Sorry, I'm not very consistent with that one. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan, but I know that some people are, and I don't want to snub them too much here. Vladoff. Everybody was super excited about Vladoff. He is a lord for the Chaos faction, and he's an epic. So he has the ability to increase the faction team members' damage based on how much HP they've lost, which, if you're not aware, in the Chaos faction, they all kind of specialize in that, all right? So a lot of their ultimates will drain their health, and as the further their health gets down, the more damage they're going to do. As for him, as a unit, I believe, yes, he does put out this bleed, and this is extremely valuable because it does increase the physical damage taken by the unit that has it, or the enemy, by 10%. So this is going to help all of your physical DPS damage units do more damage. He does hit twice, so that increases the chance for the bleed to get off. As far as his damage goes, it's medium. It's kind of like a medium damage for a fighter in the epic category. But I still want to give him a 4 because he is a Chaos faction lord, and he is actually pretty useful. All right, so who we have left here? We have Rourke. Rourke is a weird epic, and he is also a lord. The problem is he's a lord for the northern faction, which Isolde is as well. Now, Rourke is a fighter, Isolde is a defender, so there's going to be a little bit different. He's going to be doing some shields, so he's going to give those periodic shields off as well. His damage scales off of HP. On the ultimate here, upon activation, basic attack deals 100% AoE damage to up to 8 targets in front of the area, in the front area instead. For every shield strength equal to 1% of max HP owned, increases damage by 1% up to 80%. It's okay. I don't know. It's really hard to rate this one. I'm going to go ahead and give him a 3 because he is a North Throne faction lord, and he also is okay as far as damage goes. All right, so Alicia. This is a relatively new epic lord for the Arbiter faction, and she is Arbiter faction only. But she's kind of like got a baby Praetus thing going on where she does the Verdict of Truth, Final Verdict, and that stuff. So she's going to be doing the Radiant Erosion, the true damage is all going to be there. This unit is actually really amazing. I don't really know how much further I can explain it. Mini Praetus is the way to go. She's literally Praetus kind of toned down a bunch, basically. But on her ultimate, which happens relatively quickly, she does a bunch of true damage. She casts a Lightning Orb at the enemies. After that, basic attack will additionally deal 40% true damage based on the hero's attack. The Lightning Orb just kind of bounces around in a bunch of enemies, so she's basically doing AoE all the time. And yeah, it comes back relatively quickly. and she also has the damage increase in the arena. The only problem with her is that her cost is really high at 23 that I can think of, but I am going to go ahead and give Alicia a 5 out of 5. She's amazing. All right, so we're done with the fighters. Let's move on to our defenders, okay? Baron. Nightmare unit. He's going to be very good at surviving. He has unyielding, so Baron is able to upon receiving fatal damage, he's going to basically go into an unyielding mode, and during this time he cannot die. He also, during his ultimate, he puts on a shield equal to 70% of his max HP. He is a defender. You will naturally build up his HP really high. It's really easy to get like a nice 70k HP shield on Baron, and with that unyielding is always useful in a lot of things. He's a little softer than somebody like Brokir or whatever, but he's still very good as a defender. Epic. I'm gonna go ahead and give him a 4.3. He is a very, very good epic defender. Titus. Oh man, this guy. Controversial at times. Titus is actually kind of similar. He does have a unyielding. I'll just read it out here. He has repair mode. When receiving fatal damage for the first time, the hero triggers self-repair for 5 seconds and then revives with 100% HP restored. So basically he has 2 lives. Additionally, his attack and defense is increased permanently by 15%. This effect can be triggered only 1 time per deployment. The issue with Titus, he'd actually be really amazing. Probably still not Baron level, but he can't be healed by allies. The caveat is that when he enters Annihilation mode, which is his ultimate, he increases attack range, restoring 5% HP per second and dealing 220% damage to up to 3 enemies and targets in range, lasting for 25 seconds. Yeah, so he can do a little bit of damage, but it's nothing fancy. And as a tank and a defender, you're gonna be building with HP. He's not HP based. He might be doing better if he was HP based. You can keep him alive for a while. He can do decent in Hellfire Emperor. I'm gonna go ahead and give him a 2.5 though. Kind of jump on that train of that he's okay, but he's just not that okay, right? But he is useful for the faction trials as well. All right, so on to Livian. Livian, you can just go ahead and basically craft as many Livians as you want. I forget what the word is here. I'm gonna go back and look because I need to know what I'm thinking of here. Here, fusion. That's what I'm trying to say. Fusion. She's a fusible epic, and you can fuse her as many times as you want. Get her A5 unlocked. I did this really early on, and I did not regret it one bit. I thought she was actually super useful. She does have the ability to heal herself when her shield bounce is going around, so she's restoring some HP as it hits. And it just continuously does that. The only thing I will say is that you're going to want to keep your volume down if Livian is out on the field, especially the sound effects, because it's just like bang, 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 bang. Super, super annoying. Maybe if they made that sound a little bit different, I would be a little less harsh on her. But I am going to go ahead and give her a 2.5 out of 5 for many reasons. Like, she's really good early on, but she falls off super quick. So by the time you get to the mid game, you're probably not going to be messing around with Livian very much. All right, on to Oleg. Arguably one of the best defenders in the game, right? So he's going to be in the top 5. This is what's crazy about Oleg, and he's also free. You get him, I think it's your second week of completing Void Rift, your prologues. Yeah, I think it'd be your prologues is what you do. And the second time you come around, he's going to be just standing there, and you get to have him added to your team for free. Passively, he adds this massive shield as he's just sitting there. You don't have to do anything. Also, when you activate his ultimate, he's going to increase his block by 1, and he has a physical damage reduction of 40%. This unit is very strong. Most people just build him up with a lot of HP. You don't have to build a rage gen. You can for certain scenarios, but in general, he's really easy to keep alive. You put like a trickle heal on him or heal him just ever so often, and he's just going to stay alive and be an awesome tank for you. For that reason, I'm going to give him a 5 out of 5 as an epic defender. All right, so Muriel. Some people really, really like Muriel, especially early on, and I'm gonna admit I used her for quite a while. She does some defense-based healing. Now, I wish it was HP-based healing because it's easier to build her up that way. You still build her with a lot of HP, and then the units around her, she will grant defense-based healing to the ally with the lowest HP and range per second. restoring HP equal to 50% base healing. So you can actually use her as a tank and then have like a fighter behind her. And if they have some AoE damage that comes in, you can activate her ultimate and it will actually heal him up as well as her. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and give her a 2.5. I know it's a weird one. She's useful for a while, but it does fall off relatively quick. You could definitely get by just using your Livian with a healer instead of actually building her if you don't want to. Evelyn. A relatively good defender. She has some control in her kit. Some stuns. She has some high block. She's able to block, I think, at max level 4. And you put a Bastion Ring on her, she'll be blocking 5. So she's really good for the Hellfire Emperor. But beyond that, people don't really bother with her. Her survivability in general is not that insane, but she is a North Throne faction defender, so you could put her with a lord like Isolde or something along those lines and help with shields. Place her with a Vortex to help with shields, and she can do a pretty good job, especially with that nice high block and stuns. But she really shines in Hellfire Emperor, so for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and give her a 3. I think she's a decent defender. I think she's useful. In the end game, as far as Hellfire Emperor goes, she's still useful to a lot of people. Alright, so moving on to the Lord of the North Throne faction, Isolde. Isolde is one of my favorite defenders in the game as far as epics go. Not just the fact that she's on North Throne, but she does such a good job staying alive. So when the shield wall, when activated, applies block increase, physical damage reduction, and magic damage reduction to all allies in her skill range. So she's also useful keeping the units around her alive, which is basically what you see here on the screen right now. You can use this to your advantage in things like APOC 1 and APOC 2. You can put her down there as a tank, and whenever you have to activate her ultimate, if the stones are coming down or AoE damage is coming down, you can use her to increase the blocking or physical damage reduction and magic damage reduction to all the units that are within her range, and that can be useful, very useful if you time that right. She's also particularly good in Void Rift and pretty much any event stages that you need a defender or you want to bring the North Throne with you. I'm going to go ahead and give her a 4.5 out of 5 as a defender in the epic category. Alright, here's another new one. He looks familiar, doesn't he? He's the Gear Raid 2 boss. I think that was the intent anyway. His name is Rox. He's a defender. He has unyielding. He has physical damage reduction. He has magic damage reduction. And it can go higher and higher. It's 25% when his ultimate is activated to the allies that are in his range. Yeah, during the ultimate grants to adjacent allies instead. So yeah, so and he just same kind of thing as Isolde, so he has that, but he also has unyielding. So granted ward when taking fatal damage gains invincibility for 6 seconds, cooldown of 180 seconds. It can happen multiple times as well. During his ultimate, he increases defense by 20% and block by 1. So he also increases his block a little bit, and he's not going to be really doing a ton of damage. I think that his damage scales off of defense. Very, very good defender. I'm going to go ahead and give him a 4 out of 5 as a defender. Alright, so Ardeth. This one, I'm going to actually admit that I don't really know a ton about. I know he does some damage, but activates Realm of Curse, which deals damage equal to 3% of the hero's HP to enemies in range every second. Obviously, he's HP based. Additionally, the hero becomes unable to perform basic attack, but his max HP is increased by 50%. This effect lasts for 8 seconds, so it could be useful in some things. He does have the ability here to inflict vulnerability to magic damage to enemies hit and to all enemies in the Realm of Curse range, and restores HP to a hero equal to 10% of the enemy's damage taken from Realm of Curse. So I think he's pretty decent. He is really high cost as a defender. Well, not really, but 18 is pretty costly for a unit of this caliber, but he is one of the few defenders in the epic category for the Esotericist faction, so that makes him a little more rare. Based off of looking at him, I'm going to go ahead and give him a 2.8. Sorry, Aerith. I'm sorry if I'm snubbing your guys' hero here. Whoa. Okay, so Jorge. I think that's saying that right. Jorge. I think it's like a Spanish kind of skeleton kind of thing going on, and that would be the way you say the J. Jorge. His talent just damage scales off defense. There's a 30% chance of inflicting a 5-second plague, which is going to basically do continuous damage to inflicted and up to 10 enemies around him every second. It's a decent ability. And he is a defender, so you can build him up with really high HP, have some nice defense on him, and you could be doing some passive damage to help you take care of enemies that are coming in. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to go ahead and give Yorhei a 3 out of 5. Drago. Damage scales off of defense. Basic attack has a 30% chance of restoring 5% HP. She has no tags. It's broken. So anyways, yeah, this hero is kind of disappointing, but here we have a damage reduction that she can put out. So this is something that's kind of unique to her. And in the epic category, it's really rare to come into a defense or damage reduction hero. But it's also really quickly outlived because you're going to end up with your Volca. Your Volca is going to put a damage reduction on, and she's going to be just never thought of again. Level 50 at best. I'm going to give her a 2 out of 5. Alright, looks like we're done with the defenders. Let's move on to the marksman. This should actually be relatively interesting. Brienne. At one point, Brienne was an amazing marksman. And as for the early game, she still is. She's still a very good marksman. Her ability on her multi-shot, she shoots 6 waves of arrows, each wave attacking up to 5 enemies and dealing 130% AoE damage. Airborne units take extra damage. You can use an Edge's Gaze, help her get past those defenses. She is a piercer. This is all really useful. She also has split shot as well. As far as a marksman, the epic category, I'm going to go ahead and give her a 4 out of 5. It's kind of probably surprising to some of you, but Brienne is actually a very good unit. I used her a lot for progression in early stages, and I just never forget how useful she was to me. She's worth level 60. All right, Maul. Maul at A0 is kind of okay. You can use him for things, but his cost is 22. But when you waken up to awaken level 5, his cost goes way down to 17. Yeah, 17. With the awaken level 5, it costs -5. He does amazing things for you. He has a lot of control. He has freezes. He has this massive AoE damage hit with a really far range. So if you don't even have like a Starpiercer faction lord, you can use him to reach some of those enemies that are really far away. And that's going to make him extremely useful. So for that reason, I'm going to give Maul a 4.5 out of 5 in the Marksman Epics. Brunor. Let's move on to the next one. No, I'm kidding. Look at this ultimate right here. It looks like it's broadcasted across the map. It's not. But it is a very far extended range, and it can be useful. I did a Void Rift. I think it was the second boss in the Seer phase. So it'd be the second phase of that Void Rift. Using him as the epic that basically ends up finishing off the boss in the long run, because he's so far away, he's able to still hit the enemy at the same time. That was the only really good use I could figure out for Brunor. The damage isn't high, it's just there. I'm gonna go ahead and give him a 1.5 out of 5. Sorry, Brunor lovers. Alright, on to Theowen. Actually, this one I'm kind of a big fan of. He has some really cool abilities. He also has the ability to put out vulnerabilities with his artifact, because he does have an exclusive, so he's really good at that. He has some long range, because he can be put under a Piercer Lord. And where is it here? Blade Hurl and Large Saber can inflict slow on the enemies, and when he does that with the Blade Hurl and Saber, that basically also adds a vulnerability with his artifact. His damage is okay. It's mediocre, but he's an epic, and I just really like it when he launches that Large Saber combined with his artifact. He's very useful, especially for like the mid game in anti-air arena. He does do some really nice slows. I'm gonna go ahead and give him a 4 out of 5. Really like Theowen. Eliza. This one here is a Piercer Lord, so she's gonna be able to increase the range. Let's go down to her here. Increases faction team members' basic attributes by 10, but also increases the ranges. So they're basically gonna be able to hit one farther out when you have them under this Lord, which kind of unlocks Gear Raid 3. So she's extremely important for the early to mid game progression. There is another option with Lunaria, but she is very good as well, because when she's deployed, she gains invisibility and increases damage by 70%. This can only be triggered one time for each deployment, so you can use Eliza for that right side, and unlike Lunaria, she's a little more useful, so she's actually filling a role that's hard to fill by having invisibility on the right side. If you time her just right, she can take care of that whole right side all the way up to like gear rate 3, 20 to 21. It really depends on your gear. But yeah, for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and give her a 4.8 out of 5. Not a 5, she's a 4.8. The beloved Idril. I think this is another one we could probably just skip and say that she's god tier in the game because she has an ability that only she really has. Well, not anymore, but for an epic, she's amazing. You place a Dolores for inspiration next to her, or a Diao Chen or whatever. You activate her ultimate, limitless shots, and she shoots all over the map. She can attack anything on the map. And this is super useful for gear rate 3. This is super useful for a lot of event stages where enemies are coming in from wherever. Idril gets a 5 out of 5. She is definitely my favorite epic marksman. Tazara. Oh, excuse me. A lot of talking. We're 30 minutes in and I'm like maybe halfway there. Anyways, Tazara. Plumed sniper. She's a piercer. This unit is really not worth looking at too much. She does this crazy amount of rapid shots, so you can use her on the Styx boss to get through the shield and do a bunch of damage. But other than that, just don't bother. I'm going to give her a 2 out of 5 because she does have the Styx boss usefulness, but that's about it. Her damage is just terrible. Alright, moving on to Lunaria, the next Piercer Lord. Same ability for the Lord skill, increases attack ranges, that's 10%. She does do magic damage instead though, and her damage can be quite significant, but it is all single target. She surprises me a lot. I've used her a lot in Void Rift for making guides for the early game to the mid game, and she can be very, very useful for that. And for that reason, I mean, her cost is even only 11. I'm going to give her a 4 out of 5. Esme. A little bit of a backstory about Esme. When they released her, we were excited about all of the poisons that she can do. She does a tons of poisons, and we were planning on using her for a lot of things and hoping that she was going to just perform magic. The issue is they nerfed the way poisons work. I think that's because of the way that Nastia and the new poison meta was kind of coming out. They didn't want her to be too overpowered. But at the time, for a while, she was a definite 4 out of 5. Now I'm going to give her a 3 out of 5 because she's just not doing as much damage as I would like. But she's still useful for that damage over time. Alright, so Vargas. You would think because he has invisibility that you would want to use him on the right side. The issue is that the damage is just so bad. It is so bad. Kind of disappointing. I guess you could argue with me that maybe he's better than I think, but yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think about Vargas, but I'm going to go ahead and give him a 2 out of 5, where he's useful for a while and he's going to fall off really quickly. Okay, on to Harpoon. The fish. One of the fish. 1 out of 5. He's just... I tried so hard to make this hero useful. I can't even come up with a good way or a good reason for you to level him up to even 50. Just take him into your roster, keep a copy of him, make him to level 5 or whatever, but then just leave him there. Don't do anything with him. He's not worth your time. Zero. Let's give him 0.5 out of 5. Philippa. So Philippa's damage is actually really decent. So Arcane Impact is the first passive where she, every 8 seconds, the next attack deals 240% damage. This goes up significantly, and it happens more often. And then her Swift Barrage unleashes 6 waves of arrows, each dealing 160% damage to one enemy target. She's like, I would say even maybe a little bit better than Brienne. I'm gonna go ahead and give her a, let's just say a 4.5 out of 5. For a marksman, she's actually really good. You could argue she's maybe a 4, but I'm just going to leave her there. But she's also ESO faction, so the ultimate comes back around much more often. But because of that, she also doesn't get the Piercer extended range. So, yeah. Okay, I think we're done with the marksman. Let's move on to the mages. There's a lot of mages. And we get to start off with a really, really good one. Now, this one has a video even. She's so good. No offense to Olivia, and that was just her stripping on camera. But anyways, Mari, she is super useful. She puts out slows. This is good for the bosses. This is good for units coming in. It does hit at an impact, so it's like AoE, so she hits a bunch of targets at the same time. She also has a blizzard freeze. There's like, don't worry about her damage at all. She's not about damage at all. But you can definitely have hard control. There's not anybody I can think of that has much more control than she has. To top it all off, she's going to have a physical and magic damage vulnerability that she puts on the boss, and it's just insane. It's going to increase the damage of all your other units. The caveat is that when you bring her along, you're using a spot. So if you have another unit that can do much more damage or do some damage and all of this stuff, you're better off with that. But a lot of the times, it's hard to beat. Mari is a 5 out of 5 mage. Super useful all the way to the end game. Soleil. So Soleil is an oddball. Yeah, so I think she's the one that is, so let's just go over Kate really quickly. Each attack bounces up to a 5 target, dealing 130% damage to each. This effect lasts for 26 seconds. Her damage is pretty good. She also has the attack interval increased by 30% while basic attack is permanently converted into fireballs. In quick succession, she does like this chain reaction with her fireballs, and it does actually come in handy at times, especially for the Watcher faction trials, especially the new ones. She's actually really good in. Yeah, I even use her still right now in my Infernal team. So I want to give her, I mean, this one's tough. I want to give her a 3 out of 5 because she is very good, but she's going to fall off at the end game. Okay. Navras. He's another one that's going to fall off at the end game, but at the same time, in the early game, because he's Nightmare, and he's also ESO faction, and he's doing a lot of AoE damage. He's gotten some buffs. I believe still, I'm going to go and check. I think you can still fuse him, or he was added to the fusion. So now you can get his A5 unlocked just by fusing. So this would probably be your main target for fusing Theowen and then maybe Livian after that. But Navras is an amazing mage. For the early game, you will use him a ton. How am I gonna rate him? I want to give him like a 5 because I just love the hero so much, and I've used him so much in the early game. But I do want to recognize that he does fall off relatively quickly when you start pulling some of the legendary mages. He just doesn't keep up with them at all. But so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and give him a 4 out of 5. Definitely worth using. Nazim. Nazim is a not so special unit anymore. He was for a while. He was doing some crazy glitch. I think that was Nazim that was doing that. The Cursed Blade summons a magical blade, launching it at one random enemy in range every 5 seconds, or 0.5 seconds, dealing 100% damage. Enemies who have been attacked at least 4 times during the ultimate, the blade deals 140% damage instead and inflicts stun. So he does do a relatively good job doing stuns. I'm sure if you look at his review here, he probably has a high for Titanic Ruins. You can keep that that saw phase in check, just throwing Nazim down on the field. You don't have to worry about building for damage or building too much rage regen or anything on him. Maybe like 1 rage regen, 30% rage regen, and then just use him to hold back that saw and get your maximum stuns out. For the usefulness of that, I'm going to go ahead and give him a 3.8 out of 5. Greed. Our boy Greed. Another free unit. I think he's a login reward. Yes, he's a login reward. He's expensive to place, but don't let that fool you. He does a ton for you in the early game, especially the early to mid game. If you don't pull a mage that is of his caliber, in the legendary category, he's going to be hard to beat. As far as the epics go, the only one that's going to really beat him is going to be a Yona. I'm going to go ahead and give him a 4. Because he really needs his Awaken level 5 to really unlock using both his special effects at the same time. I'm just going to leave that at that. Greed is amazing unit. Invest in him with level 60. People use them for gear dungeons, they use them for gear raid 1, they use them for everything. So go ahead and invest in level 60, 4 out of 5 unit. Aeon. Aeon is a cultist faction lord. Okay, so increases faction team members' damage dealt to enemies inflicted with slow, stun, freeze, immobilize, state, and other CC effects by 20%. So she's going to unlock that for all of these guys. We have Virna in there, we have Honora in there, we have Dahlia in there, we have Beatrix in there, we have a lot of good mages and stuff in this faction, cultist faction, is all you have to do is have crowd control effects on them, and she's gonna do a great job. She's also gonna be doing this death vortex and putting out slows. I think she does vulnerability as well, kind of like a Mari. I used her in the same way as far as just trying to increase the damage against the guild boss on Nightmare 4, and she worked exactly the same. It was like not even be able to tell that Mari wasn't there. So she's putting out slows, she's putting out vulnerabilities. It's a very good unit, especially for an epic lord. I'm gonna go ahead and give her a 4 out of 5 as well. Okay, so moving on to, well, speak of the devil, moving on to Iona. Iona, you can buy her in the game. If you don't buy her in the game, they're gonna hit you with that pack and show you that you can buy her in the game for the whole time that you play the game, even after you get her. He's still gonna offer you that pack. You know, you could buy Iona. It's right here, $5, $4.99, or that's what it was. I don't know what it is anymore. She does a ton of damage. Iona's amazing. She's gonna like basically solo a lot of Gear Raid 1 stuff until like even 19. I think she can even still do on her own. She's gonna be bringing in slows and a ton of AoE damage, and that is basically what she's all about. And level her to level 60 if you get her, awaken her to level 5 if you get her, full invest, skill her out all the way, and use her and just enjoy it because she's gonna be a hard carry. She's like Navros times 2, you know, Navros plus Mari times 2. But anyways, Iona, 5 out of 5 mage. All right, on to Imani. Imani, early on in Guild Boss, if you have yourself a Pyros and you want to run Infernal Squad, Pyros does a really good job. The timing is a little bit weird, but she also has the ability to increase her crit rate, her crit damage, and her attack upon deployment. So what you have to do is time it right so their ultimate is ready right when Pyros' ultimate is also ready, and you can hit the shield and break the shields on the guild boss, Nightmare 3, Nightmare 4, whatever. I've seen teams with Imani break 50k easily on guild boss Nightmare 4. I'm going to go ahead and give her a 3.5 out of 5 because she is useful for that. It falls off relatively quickly after that though. Alright, Siren. Really high cost. Cultist faction. Decent damage. He's like, not quite Iona, but relatively close. But that cost hurts him so bad. And for that reason, I'm just going to go ahead. He's AoE, he's magic damage. I'm just going to go ahead and give him a 3.5 out of 5. Good unit. If you decide to invest in him, I wouldn't blame you. Maybe you're into level 50 for a while if you don't have a different mage. If you get Navros, just use Navros instead. If you want to use him for faction trials, maybe you could use him at level 50 for that until you get something better. Here's an interesting one. Laurel. So, these days, Laurel is not used as much. I want to say if you're a new player and you can use her for quite a while. It can be for quite a while. Depends on what units you get on your progression. But Laurel cycling isn't a high fashion thing anymore. Still good. She's still amazing for rage regen. Basically what you do is you place her next to a unit. When you pick her up, it restores a bunch of their rage. 50% upon her death or when you pull her off the field. She also, if you keep her on the field, she restores 3% rage for 2 random allies within range for every 2 seconds, lasting for 8 seconds. It goes up a little bit. And she also has a damage increase if she's on the field and your allies use their ultimate as well. I'm going to give Laurel still, to this day, a 4.8 out of 5. I would give her a 5 out of 5, but she's kind of fallen off a little bit. Investor, you just need to get that at level 50. I want to say, where is that right here? I think it's, well, this ability here I think unlocks at level 50. So you have to get her 5-star in order to use her for that. But that's all you need. You don't need to do anything else. Put Invigoration set on her. You're going to love her. Okay. Rated. Esoteric faction lord for the Esoteric faction. And he's okay. He's okay. He does reduce the faction team member's skill cost by 15%. His damage is kind of like Osiren. His cost is 25, and holy cow, you might just put him on the field or put him on the team to get that faction bonus, and maybe you don't want to place him down because it is so expensive. His damage is a little underwhelming, especially for the cost. not really I don't really understand the reason for the cost. I'm gonna go ahead and still, because he is a faction lord for the esoteric faction, and that's pretty important. Honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and give him a 4 out of 5 for that reason. But his damage is okay. I'm not gonna scout something too bad. He's not terrible. He's just not really my thing. All right, on to Azoth. It used to be thought that you were sleeping on Azoth early on. People weren't using Azoth very often, but there was a few people that decided to try to use them on Guild Boss, especially Nightmare 3, Nightmare 4. Definitely help you with the passive damage, the damage over time from all the burns that he puts out, which is basically what he does. He just does a ton of burns, right? Deals 100% damage to one enemy, inflicts burning on the target upon crit hits. It's just 20% continuous magic damage continuously, and he does a couple stacks of it. It's pretty decent. I'm gonna go ahead and give him a 3 out of 5. I think that he could be useful for a while. You level him to 50, use him for like Nightmare 1, Nightmare 2, whatever. But then try to figure out something else, because it's not really that amazing. Honestly, I tried it out when all the big hype was out there about him. Selkath, the other fish. The fish boys are all bad. They're all bad. I'm gonna give him a 1 out of 5. The enchanted bubbles. It's just I don't see what is so amazing about him, or what you could use him for really. He does buff your allies with a 30 plus 30 attack speed. I don't know. It's not really that fantastic. His damage is very subpar. I'm gonna give him, yeah, the 1 out of 5. Let's just leave it at that. Poor fishman. Pyros. So if you like Twin Fiend, you're gonna like Pyros. If you like Soul Kittens or have Soul Kittens, you'll never look back at Pyros again. Twin Fiend A1 is going to beat Pyros A3 is how it's gonna work. But if you have Pyros A3 and your Twin Fiend A0, you're gonna find it very interesting that you should use your Pyros over the Twin Fiend, because the Twin Fiend's not gonna do a ton of damage, and he has the what is it called? Destruction command, where he focuses everybody's attacks into one big hit, hits the shield on the dragon, take down the shield, and gets you to the next phase, and lets you do some more damage. I believe he's also putting out vulnerabilities, and he's also offering a penetration increase of 30% to all faction team members for 10 seconds when he activates his ultimate. As a lord for the Inferno Blast faction, I'm going to give him a 4.5 out of 5. He's a very good unit. If you don't have a lord for it, you're going to end up using Pyros. He's definitely amazing. Nisalt. Very, very a niche little lizard. This unit does a bunch of damage over time, which is super, super useful in the Mortal Codex boss. What is it? Arbiter of Frost. Yeah, Arbiter of Frost is what it is. He's really good for that, and he can do a decent amount of damage on Guild Boss, Nightmare 3, Nightmare 4. I'm going to go ahead and give him a 3.5 out of 5, just because he's so niche and he gets replaced really easily. Okay, so moving on to Kalina. When everybody mentions Kalina to me, I always say, who's Kalina? Nobody really talks about this hero a lot, and for good reason. He does have the ability to increase attack by 20%. She does some rapid attacks here, random target in range, each dealing 50% damage and triggering the talent effect. After the ultimate ends, gains stun. So then she starts doing stuns. I don't really know how to place her. Yeah, I could see that Faction Trials being great. They're probably accurate with that, and the Titanic Ruins for the stun. But beyond that, I'm gonna go ahead and give her a 2.7 out of 5. Just gonna get a 2.7. She's okay with the true damage and everything. She's just not gonna be that great for long. Vixera, one of the new Esotericist faction lords. Reduces the faction team member's skills but cost by 15%. She also increased her basic attributes by 10%, but she only cost 18. That's a lot better than our Sir Boy here rated. And her damage is significant. But she is single target. So it's gonna do a ton of damage when her ultimate goes off. It's relatively cheap. It's gonna be only 600 cost. Starts with 400. She does offer that Lord bonus, and for all this combined, and basically everything that she could do, I'm just gonna go ahead and give her a 3.8 to a 4 out of 5. I'm just leaning to the 4 out of 5. Very, very good Esotericist faction epic lord. All right, so moving on to our healers. The healers are actually going to be pretty easy, and the tacticians are almost done. We are 50 minutes into this, guys. My voice is, I'm losing it as we're going here, just constantly talking. Dolores. Dolores is going to be a 5 out of 5. I'm going to tell you right now, she's a 5 out of 5. People probably aren't talking about her that much right now. She's still a 5 out of 5. You pull Dolores, you should be really happy. Remember when people would pull Dolores and they would act happier than pulling a legendary half the time. Dolores has an inspiration, and when you awaken her fully, Graceful Dancing ends, increases the chance of increasing rage to 80%. She also has this like rage boost to herself. But basically what inspiration does, it is increases the attack of all of the allies within her range. So you can see that right here in the ultimate. And she has the highest boost to allies attack in the game. It's still unchallenged. I think it's 60% if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think her attack boost is 60%, and it's just hard to beat. It comes back fairly often. You can use her exclusive gear piece where it's guaranteed, where she's going to be ready after cycling Laurel, and you can just keep her in her inspiration, graceful dancing the whole time. She's not a healer. She's not going to do any healing. It trickle heals at best. There's nothing else being really brought. It's just that big damage boost. So you could activate it during the shield where you have a hard time bringing a shield down, or an enemy where you can't penetrate the defenses far enough. Activate your Dolores next to that unit, your Idril, whatever, and activate their ultimate at the same time. Boom, that epic or whatever is hitting like a legendary. That's just how crazy she is. All right, moving on to our boy Vortex. Vortex is amazing. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit activate and put his max level up there. His range is godly. He's a single target heal, but when he does his ultimate, he's gonna give everybody in his range this massive shield. So if you have big damage coming in on APOC 1, APOC 2, Abyss, whatever you're trying to play that's gonna bring in a big amount of damage in, activate Vortex, give him some shields. Gear Raid 2 is very useful as well. He's the main healer you put up on the top left corner. He tanks all the damage from the throwers, guys throwing rocks. Vortex is going to be a 5 out of 5 healer in the epic category. Yeah, he's just going to be way up there. I can't really say much more else about him. That's because that's basically it. He's also a Northern faction. He's going to be getting him shields himself. They're already getting a bunch of shields. You're going to put him out there when the shields drop off from the random buff from the Lord. You just go ahead and activate him, give him the shields back. Just, he's amazing at keeping people alive. All right, so moving on to Lightlock. Now, some of you may not know this because some of you may be newer to the game. At one point in time, Lightlock was capable of doing some crazy damage. There was a bug that was in the game, and when you activate his ultimate, he would just like stomp bosses. So that has since been fixed. He is also fusible, so if you're having a hard time with a healer, his single target heal is really good. But beyond that, there's just not really bringing anything else to the table. That's about it. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and give him a 3 out of 5 in the healer category. Well, epics category in general. He's just, you don't really need to bother with him. If you do, maybe bring him to level 50 early on if you're having just a hard time getting a healer. I had a hard time getting a healer good enough like Vortex for a long time. Anyways, let's move on to the next one, Madan. Madan is she's an HP based healer, but don't let that really fool you. She does struggle to stay alive. So at max level she has 9.6k HP. You really have to build that up to use her anything significant if she's gonna be taking a ton of damage. Unlike Vortex is a little bit easier because he's bringing those shields, but she is bringing something else to the table. She has defensive dispel. So when you're going into APOC 1 or APOC 2, she kind of falls off in APOC 2, but APOC 1 for sure, you can use her to cleanse the poisons off or any other debuff in any of the stage mode. And she's one of the few that can do it. There's not that many units that do this, and she's pretty good. You can use her in the Codex as well, the healer Codex. I think it's Titan, right? I don't remember, Titan something, I don't think. Something like that. But anyways, you can use her to cleanse off all the debuffs off of your units on your team, or in her range, I should say. And that's pretty much what she's about. She's not really an AoE heal. It does say that, but it's healing 3 allies in range. It's going to be good enough for most content, especially in the early to mid game, but then she's going to fall off. You may use her for a while in APOC 1 as your second team. So I'm going to go ahead and give her a 4 out of 5. She's a very good unit. Alright, so moving on to Hollow. The go-to healer for a lot of people. Just put it that way. For a lot of people, until you get some like godly legendary healer, Hollow's going to be your go-to. I guarantee it. Especially if you don't have Eloin. You're going to always be using Hollow until you get Eloin, and then you get Eloin, you might not use Hollow anymore. Hollow, her heals are really strong. It is a single target heal, so 1 ally in range, but she's pretty quick, so you can make it happen. It works just fine. But this Energetic Bliss, when Light of Bliss is activated, applies a rage regen to all allies in range for every 1 second. And it's going to go to definitely an extra 0.8, so 1.4, yeah, 1.4 rage per second when her ultimate is activated, so it's going to last for 20 seconds. She's basically just going to make it so all your units can use their ultimates a lot sooner. So if you're using a hero to heal, survive, do damage, whatever, they're going to get back to it that much sooner. Hollow gets a 5 out of 5. And just break it down with that. Hollow gets a 5 out of 5. Lily. Lily is a Piercer faction healer. So you can see her range there. So if I do this, she's going to get another tile on here as well. So she can reach further with her heals. She has the ability to prevent incoming fatal damage and Thorny Protection. She's really good for guild versus guild, for your GVG defenses. And her heals actually are very strong. She's actually a very competent healer. When Thorny Protection is triggered, the saved ally also gains a damage increase, I believe. There's more offered here. Ally saved by Thorny Protection will initially gain damage immunity for 5 seconds. So this is kind of like why it works so well with GVG. So like your tank, whatever, will go down. Lily's going to bring them back, give them damage reduction. You're going to get damage increase. There's a lot of things going on, and she also has very good significant heals along with her very far reach. I'm going to give Lily a 5 out of 5. She's going to be up there right with Hollow. She's going to be useful to the end game. Nisande. Yeah, so she does have an AoE heal. It's like a bounce style heal. She does this chain of healing. Basically, what she's going to end up doing, she's going to activate her ultimate, and there's going to be this ball that goes out and just kind of like bounces all over really, really fast and just keeps healing everybody in the range. And it's a lot of healing. You do need to get her awakenings in order to make it really, really good. Triggers Mania when casting the ultimate skill Chain of Healing. So it's very, very, very strong. And she also, where is that? Is that an awakening here? Must be awakening level 3. No, where is that? She does a defensive dispel as well here. Just say it in here. Oh, okay, it's right in her ultimate. When she heals all her allies in her range, she dispels all the debuffs from them. Just like Medan, she's going to be able to cleanse the debuffs off you in APOC 1, APOC 2, or whatever you're trying to cleanse debuffs off your heroes in. Nisande gets a 4.8 out of 5. I'm not going to give her a 5 out of 5 because I don't think she's quite there. It's a little harder to keep her alive. She is attack based, and her ultimate, the amount of time it takes to get her back to her ultimate is really difficult to deal with. But other than that, she's going to be really good, especially in the healer codex as well. And I think we made it through all of the epics. This is like, I can barely talk. It's under an hour still. We're at 58 minutes. Guys, if you want to see more about what I think about a lot of these heroes, check out prospector.gg, go to the hero guides, and you can just cycle through the heroes. You can also just see them here as well, as you can also make your own roster really quickly. I want to go over this. My heroes right here. Go ahead and add your heroes to your roster for takeovers if you want to. I even have the rares in there, the epics are all in there, whatever you need to do. We also have a bunch of tools in here as well. The BP tier list, trying to decide which units to go for GVG, for attacking. The pity tracker, that's going to be for summons. Price calculator, that's for evaluating packs. The attack speed calculator, as well as the secret achievements tool, which is actually pretty cool. You just go in here, you want to see all the secret achievements are in here. I update these as soon as I know about them. If you click on one, it's going to go ahead and just show you how I think you should best go about getting it accomplished. Guys, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out prospector.gg. Check out Discord. It's always in the description below. Follow over on Twitch. I've been the Prospector. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep digging.